Hello and welcome back to the Retro Revival Gaming YouTube channel. It feels so good to be uploading a video after so long. I'm Dylan, if you're new here, and welcome to our annual Christmas special. This is the first one of hopefully a tradition on this channel. I'm in the festive spirit. I've got my ugly Christmas sweater. It's got llamas on it. It's got a big llama on it, and he's got a scarf, and he's got fur. And I love it so much. Next year, I'll probably be wearing like a Mario one or something. That's what I really wanted. But by the time I even thought about it, it was already too late to get it before Christmas. So next year, there's always next year. Anyway, today, what are we talking about? We are talking about Christmas 1985. Specifically, the biggest toy of the Christmas season. It fits in line with the chronology of this channel. Last episode, or the last video I uploaded was about the video game crash of 1983. So we're kind of just chugging along in video game history. But first, I just want to let you guys know I'm coming back to Twitch for at least one day. We'll see if it becomes a regular thing. My schedule between full-time school, full-time work, I don't have a lot of time for content creation. That's why I haven't uploaded a video in so long. But I will be live on Twitch for a special New Year's Eve stream. We'll be playing Fall Guys like we always do on stream. And yeah, you can catch me at my new Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Retro Revival Gaming. I'm going to have the link in the description below as well. And please, 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 if you can, please donate to my Patreon. I will put your name in the credits of every single video as long as you stay a patron at any level. Obviously, you'll get a bigger, bolder name depending on what level you donate at. And I think the cheapest one I have on there is $2. So I'm going to leave that link right here. It's going to be in the description below as well. It helps this channel because I can't make videos without money. I can't make high-quality videos without money. So any amount that you guys can give is very helpful. Anyway, let's get back to the video. Normally, I would just tell you, like, hey, this was the biggest selling toy of 1985, but I kind of want to build the suspense a little bit. So I'm going to let ABC News from Norfolk, Virginia, tell you what the biggest selling toy of 1985 was.
It's tough to know unless you are or have a child just what the latest thing is. How do you know what the little kids want, the ones you do have?
I just asked somebody in here who had one.
Where do your kids get most of their ideas?
From television and children to go to school with.
There seems to be only one really hot new toy this year, but we can't show it to you because this toy store, like many others, is already sold out. What we can tell you is that it's called Teddy Ruxpin, and it's a stuffed bear that talks and moves its lips while it's talking. Plus, we can tell you it costs between $60 and $80.
Which I had to Google that to see what the inflation is. $60 to $80. That's over $200 today. That's like $180 to like $220 today for a stuffed bear. That is insane. So, what the hell is Teddy Ruxpin, and why is he so dang expensive? Well, if you already know what Teddy Ruxpin is, welcome. Thank you for joining us. How are you doing? Did you have a Teddy Ruxpin? Let me know in the comments below. And if you don't know what Teddy Ruxpin is, this commercial from the 80s, from 1985, might be able to help you out.
Show and tell time. Another teddy bear? My teddy's.
I love that little girl, this freaking Regina George here, where she's whispering to her friend, little Mean Girls group, like, another teddy bear? Like, yeah, Delilah, another teddy bear. You got a problem with that? Maybe you shouldn't bring a teddy bear to show and tell. And how do I know that Delilah brought a teddy bear to show and tell? Because of the teacher's face right here. She looks over. She hears that. So you're not even good at whispering. She hears this and gives her this look. So that tells me one of two things. One, she brought a teddy bear to show and tell. Two, this is a regular occurrence for this girl, which is why I call her Regina George, because clearly there's a pattern of behavior here. That's just not acceptable. That's just not acceptable.
Teddy bear? My teddy's name is Teddy Ruxpin. He talks, he tells stories.
Even this kid is like checked out for the day. He's like, you know what? This is like the 17th kid to do show and tell. I'm done. I want to go home. I had a big lunch. I'm like really tired. I just don't want to be here right now. And this is me. This is me. 100%. I am this kid. I'm sitting in class. I don't want to hear about your teddy bear. Timmy, get out of here. Get out of here with that.
He tells stories.
And then these poor kids, they laugh at him. They sit there and they laugh at him. And he's like so embarrassed. Like he's like, I don't want to do this show and tell. Like he's supposed to be showing off. It's a commercial that's supposed to be showing off like a hot new toy. And this kid is like so embarrassed because it's just a teddy bear. Although, no. It is not just a teddy bear.
4 batteries not included.
Hi, my name is Teddy Ruxpin.
All these kids are just nodding in unison like, yes, Teddy, we want to be friends. We want to be your friend. Like, all right, but literally not even 10 seconds ago, you were all yawning, and Regina George was like, this kid's stupid bringing another teddy bear. And then the kid, he's so happy. He's so happy. He's like, oh, my friends love me again. They're not your friends, Timmy. These are not your friends. These are not your friends, okay? They don't care about you. They care about your teddy bear, your Teddy Ruxpin. That's all they care about. They're not your friends.
I be friends. I really enjoy talking to people. I would like you.
Teddy Ruxpin, the storytelling bear, comes with illustrated book and cassette from Worlds of Wonder.
And that's it. That is Teddy Ruxpin. Pretty simple concept. He's got a cassette player in his back. Put the cassette in. Usually the bear came with one story and one cassette. You'd put the cassette in, he'd read the story to you, and there were 39 stories that ended up being released with the original run of Teddy Ruxpin. So yeah, there was a lot of material there. And a lot of money to be made, because the stories, they would sell the stories individually. You'd get one story, and then you'd buy more stories as they were released, or as, your kids just were tired of hearing the same Teddy Ruxpin adventure. And it actually launched a animated series that ran for 2 seasons, I think it was called The Adventures of Teddy Ruxpin. Had this really catchy theme song that I cannot play for you because YouTube will demonetize me so fast. But it was very catchy. It was called let me see. What was the name of the song was called Come Dream With Me Tonight. It is super catchy. Look it up. It's after this video, obviously. Watch this video first and then go and listen to Come Dream With Me from The Adventures of Teddy Ruxpin. But now that we've gotten into what Teddy Ruxpin is, you're probably wondering, well, who made it? Like, where did it come from? Why was it so successful? And where did it go? Cotton Eye Joe? That was a terrible joke. I promise. That is the last one. So Teddy Ruxpin was created by a man named Ken Forsae. And if that name doesn't sound familiar to you, that is okay. He's kind of just known for Teddy Ruxpin. He worked for Walt Disney for a while. He ended up leaving Walt Disney, started his own company called Alchemy 2. And while he was working for Alchemy 2, he actually worked with Disney on animatronics. So he worked with them on animatronics for Welcome to Pooh Corner, which the voice of Piglet actually worked with Ken Forsae on The Adventures of Teddy Ruxpin, the TV series. So there's a lot of Disney history behind Teddy Ruxpin, despite it not being a Disney product. So he worked on that. His team actually helped create the Hall of Presidents at Walt Disney World in Orlando. And, believe it or not, he created one of probably the most iconic Disney park attractions in the Haunted Mansion. So he was big on animatronics. The 80s in general were big for animatronics. I mean, because you had, the Hall of Presidents. You had the Haunted Mansion. You had Welcome to Pooh Corner, Chuck E. Cheese. So it was kind of the decade for animatronics, really, in the 80s. So a better way than to release an animatronic teddy bear that reads stories. Super cool concept, but he needed a distributor. So this is where our friend Don Kingsborough comes into the story. Now, I call him our friend because he was actually the head of sales at Atari. And as we all know, the head of Atari was also the founder of Chuck E. Cheese. So it's kind of, this whole idea of everything being connected, especially with animatronics. It's, media is very conglomerate. Like, everybody knows each other. All the companies are kind of connected in one way or another. And it's not people doing their own things necessarily. So in 1985, after the video game crash of 1983 and the collapse of Atari, Don Kingsborough left Atari to start his own company called Worlds of Wonder. And the very first product that they launched was Teddy Ruxpin. If Worlds of Wonder sounds familiar, it's because that same year they partnered with Nintendo of America to be the American distributor for the NES. So they had one banger of a product after another. In 1985, they released Teddy Ruxpin. It became the highest selling toy of 1985. In 1986, they released the Nintendo Entertainment System. Teddy Ruxpin was still the number one selling toy of 1986. And then in 1987, they created the interactive adventure game laser tag. Yeah. Worlds of Wonder invented laser tag. I just keep going back to how it's all connected together, because Nintendo was obsessed with lasers, and the fact that Worlds of Wonder created laser tag, there was that Nintendo influence. And Disney had an influence on Mario, with the Mario characters. So in a way, Disney kind of rules everything. Not in a way. It's absolutely how it is. That's how it's always been for at least the last 40 years, 40, 50 years, since the 70s. So, what can you say? Disney is unstoppable, and not always in a good way. So in 1986, and this is really funny because in 1986, Kingsborough filed an IPO to make Worlds of Wonder public. And he said he called the company Worlds of Wonder for the sole purpose of getting it on Wall Street and seeing the word wow on Wall Street. Like, wow. That's what he wanted on Wall Street, and he got his wish. It happened. Sadly, there was a market crash in, I believe, 1987, and the company would cease to exist 4 years later. So they had a lot of success for their first 3 years, but things happen. Market crash. They didn't survive the market crash. Nintendo dumped them because Nintendo no longer needed a distributor. They were well enough to distribute their own consoles and games. They didn't need Worlds of Wonder after the initial launch of the NES, so they were dropped For some reason, sales of Teddy Ruxpin just declined after 1986, and it just caused Worlds of Wonder to go under. But this video is not about Worlds of Wonder, but we are going to talk a lot about it on this channel because of their connection with Nintendo of America. Okay, but now you're probably wondering, okay, so what happened to Teddy Ruxpin after 1991? So obviously 1985, it was a huge success. They underestimated the demand for the product. It was an overnight success, and they just didn't have the supply to meet the demand, and that's why it skyrocketed in 1986. Couple that with the fact that Adventures of Teddy Ruxpin premiered on Christmas Eve, 1986, and ran for 2 seasons until it had its final episode on October 23rd, 1987. I think the end of the show's run might have helped bolster the decline in sales for the product itself. If they had kept the show running, maybe, it would have kept selling, but, there's also got to be a reason why they ended the show after only 2 seasons. But they had 65 episodes, so, it had a pretty good run, especially for a syndicated show in the mid-'80s. After this, Teddy Ruxpin actually became the official spokesbearer for the Center of Missing and Exploited Children, because another big theme in the 80s was kids running away from home, runaway kids getting kidnapped. That was on the rise in the late 80s. So the Center of Missing and Exploited Children used Teddy Ruxpin in PSAs to help promote child safety. And I want to show you 2 of those ads right now with actors you'll probably recognize.
I'm Teddy Ruxpin, and the official spokesbearer for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Now meet a friend of mine with some good advice.
Thanks, Teddy. It's a good idea to practice saying no and show that you really mean it. Hold your head high. Put your shoulders back, look the person right in the eye, and say, no. You try it. It works.
So aside from the fact that just saying no doesn't always work, I do want to apologize for the audio. Some of these, these videos are from the freaking late 80s, so the audio, when transferred over digitally, just sounds really bad. So I want to apologize for that. This next one's probably my favorite, just because of the message this actor gives and how ironic it is that out of all the actors that they could have chosen, out of all the child actors they could have chosen from the 80s, they picked this actor to give this message.
I'm Teddy Ruxpin, and the official spokesbearer for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Now meet a friend of mine with some good advice.
Thanks, Teddy. I have a friend who wanted to run away, so I told him that it's dangerous for a kid to be out on his own. He could have nowhere to sleep or end up in a scary place. I said to talk to someone he trusts for help.
So ironic is because there were 2 movies that came out in the 80s, and they're probably the most sought-after examples for glorifying children running away from home, and that's The Goonies and Stand By Me. Corey Feldman was in both of those movies, so for him to go, don't run away from home, and then to promote 2 movies where that's literally the concept of the 2 movies. I mean, Stand By Me, you want to go see a dead body? Like, come on. Who are you to tell me not to run away from home? You made 2 of the greatest, I don't want to say you made them, but you were in 2 of the greatest movies ever made about kids running away from home. Come on. So like I said, there was a market crash in 1987 that caused Worlds of Wonder to go out of business by 1991. So now there was no distributor for the Teddy Ruxpin anymore. So what Ken Forsay did is he sold the rights, the distribution rights, to Hasbro. That's right, Hasbro. which is probably one of the biggest toy companies in the world, if not the biggest. So in 1991, they released the Teddy Ruxpin under their Play School division, which is still very popular today. They did make some changes to the Teddy Ruxpin bear, and it's so funny because every single iteration of this bear over the years when they've been re-released has changed something fundamental about the bear. So the first one, you had cassettes that would go into his back. Well, with the Hasbro version that came out in 1991, it was smaller, and instead of using cassettes, they used 8-tracks. I guess 8-tracks were maybe cheaper to produce, making it smaller, reduce the production cost, because I think at some point people just stopped paying $80 for a teddy bear, which that seems reasonable. Even today, like, that seems reasonable. Although I will say I've been on Amazon. The current Teddy Ruxpin that was re-released in 17, goes for $250. So, which it's on par with inflation. If you're considering the original price, it's right on par with inflation. But that's just, I don't know if I want to pay $250 for a bear that talks. That just seems like a lot of freaking money. But they stopped producing it in 1996, mainly because it wasn't popular anymore. But then 2 years later, Yes Entertainment bought the distribution rights to Teddy Ruxpin. So now that we're counting, this is the third iteration of the bear. And you guessed it, instead of 8-tracks, they went right back to using audio cassettes. So they kind of went back to the original design of the bear and started using cassettes again. But they also released another version of the Teddy Ruxpin. I count this as the fourth iteration because it's basically the same thing. But this is probably the weirdest Teddy Ruxpin product, the most useless Teddy Ruxpin product that has ever been released. So what they did was they released something called the TV Teddy. And what it was instead of using cassettes, instead of using 8-tracks, it now used VHSs. Yes, VHS cassettes. You're probably wondering how. How the hell did they fit a VCR into a bear? They didn't. So they actually shrunk the bear. They put a receiver into the bear. And the bear would come, you'd get the bear, you'd get a VHS tape of, whatever story or whatever. You would get an RF transmitter that would connect to the RF receiver in the bear, and the VHSs were like specially coded, so it would send the signal to the bear. It was a poor attempt at like a wireless Teddy Ruxpin. I think just because it was lighter. It was like a lighter, you didn't have to have the cassette in his back, but you needed a VCR, so it was super useless. It was the dumbest, iteration of the Teddy Ruxpin bear. And they put and Hasbro put 8-tracks in that thing, so, Another thing Yes Entertainment tried to do was bank on the success of the Beanie Babies, and actually released Teddy Ruxpin Beanie Babies with the Teddy Ruxpins. And again, it wasn't selling. It sold enough to, justify to continue the business. But eventually, sales would stall out. And just like Play School, just like Worlds of Wonder, they would have to stop making it, stop producing it. It just wasn't worth it anymore. Which now brings us into the 21st century, because in 2005, Backpack Toys released the Teddy Ruxpin. So keeping track, this is now the 5th iteration of this bear. And instead of using cassettes, instead of using 8-tracks, instead of using VHSs, this iteration used ROM cartridges. Again, why are we using ROM cartridges? Just use a cassette. It is okay. Or an 8-track. I mean, cassettes are 8-tracks, whatever. 8-tracks are fatter, so, I feel like a cassette is a lot smaller, but that's just me. You don't need a ROM cartridge or a VHS. Just keep it simple. No. Because this is 2005, and we're entering the digital age of Teddy Ruxpin, and he needs a ROM cartridge. And again, that didn't sell. And that brings us to the current iteration of Teddy Ruxpin in 2017, a company by the name of Wicked Cool Toys, which just sounds like it's like that meme, the "How you do, fellow kids" meme, where it just sounds like somebody's trying to relate to kids but has no idea what the actual lingo is. So they're like, wicked cool. These toys are wicked cool. Like, not even in 2017 were people saying wicked cool. Okay. Maybe they were trying to bank on the nostalgia of the 80s by saying wicked cool. But to me, that's just the worst name for a toy company, is Wicked Cool Toys. And can you guess? They did not use cassettes. They did not use 8-tracks. They did not use VHSs or ROM cartridges. As a matter of fact, there were no physical cartridges for this iteration of Teddy Ruxpin. Instead, he came pre-built with 3 stories, and you could purchase additional stories on the app. I think even his eyes had different designs, like they had stars and stuff like that. And he moved his mouth in different ways. And you can buy that on Amazon for $250. You can buy the 20... It's a lot. It is a lot. I think you can probably find the original Teddy Ruxpin on eBay for cheaper than that. $250 is just absolutely insane. And then in 2018, Alchemy and the Jim Henson Company were working on a deal to bring back the Adventures of Teddy Ruxpin TV series. But unfortunately, the deal fell through. It would have been really cool to see like a Muppet Babies, but Teddy Ruxpin. That would have been really cool. It should be noted that Ken Forsape did pass away in 2014. I forgot to mention that. That was kind of important. Big pioneer for toys, for animatronics in general. Yeah. And he passed away in 2014 before Wicked Cool Toys began production on the digital Teddy Ruxpin. But then it seemed like all was lost for Teddy Ruxpin until September of 2021, when DJ2 Entertainment purchased the film and television rights for Teddy Ruxpin. And that's where we're at. In the 2 years since that deal was announced, nothing has been said. No, I imagine that a Teddy Ruxpin movie would come out at some point, but it hasn't happened yet. I think they're trying to bank on the success of Paddington, and like, well, if we do Teddy Ruxpin, I don't know. But the Adventures of Teddy Ruxpin, bringing that back as a TV show, I think could be very successful. As an animated TV series, could be very successful. A film, a movie, I don't know. Because again, we've already got Paddington. So a movie of Teddy Ruxpin just, at this time, just doesn't seem like it would work. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. It was a great concept. It had overnight success. And then the fad died out, like a lot of fads do. There are just some toys that get big out of nowhere and then kind of just disappear out of nowhere. But yeah, if you had a Teddy Ruxpin, let me know down in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like this video, I guess dislike it. You know, that's still an option. Or comment down below like, hey, I never heard of Teddy Ruxpin. This is so cool. I want one, but I don't want to pay $250 for one. But thanks for letting me know. I'm going to leave you with one final video. This is probably my favorite Teddy Ruxpin featurette. It is a Delta safety video that Teddy Ruxpin featured in. And I figured it's just a good way to close out the video. Thank you so much for watching. Have a Merry Christmas. And as always, happy nostalgia.
Larger electronic devices like laptops should be turned off and stowed until we're airborne.
And the princess rode off into the sunset. The end.